Welcome back. First episode of Cleats Off the Couch in probably, I don't know, what has been almost 2 years. I'm excited about starting what I'm going to just make season 2 of Cleats Off the Couch, having different conversations about football that we take from the couch into life. I am Delkery, John Delker, whatever you want to know me as. Coming into the season here, 2024. I'm excited. Obviously, if you're watching the video, you see I've got the Steelers Ben Roethlisberger jersey on, and I didn't realize how much I would miss that man at quarterback in Pittsburgh. But but this season, there's a lot of different predictions to be made when it comes to the outcome of the season, when it comes to the look of different rookies, a lot of different things that actually are kind of surprising at how many to me are looking like similar to the previous year, which isn't the case. If you've come over here from TikTok lives that I've been doing on Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern time at Delkery is where I'm doing those at. Don't yet have the live capability of at Cleats Off over there on TikTok. So go be sure to go subscribe and let's build that up so that way we can do lives over on TikTok there. We've had conversations about different expectations, different teams, different looks for division winners and the potential of playoffs. And usually, I've been saying this a lot, almost 50% of the field looks different coming into the playoffs. And no matter how many times I've sat down and tried to figure out over the course of TikTok lives, off screen, trying to figure some stuff out, teams to be in playoffs keep sticking very close to last year, which I don't like. I don't like that because statistically, it's not what it's going to be. But then again, we don't know, right? The unknown is unknown. I'm going to be talking about these things here today. If this is your first time listening to Cleats Off the Couch or the first time in a while, be sure to like, subscribe wherever you're listening. If you'd be so kind, give a 5-star review, share this with somebody. These are different ways to be able to help. Imagine you're driving on a foggy morning. The road ahead is barely visible, and every turn feels like a leap of faith. You know where you want to go, but you can't see the whole path. And that uncertainty makes every mile feel even longer. You keep driving though, because you trust that the road will eventually clear and lead you to your intended destination. And life often feels the same way. If we have our plans, we have our dreams, our hopes, but the unknowns, the things that we can't predict, make the journey challenging. Like on that foggy drive, we don't stop moving forward. We keep going, trusting that the picture will be clearer with time. It's been a lot of fun always talking to different people and hearing their different perspectives, both biased, right? No matter how much many of us try, right? There's always a little bit of bias with our favorite team. I was clear in when I shared the AFC North predictions, or what I was looking at throughout them. What I think is most likely going to happen versus what I'm hopeful and think the potential exists for the Steelers. So those many times can muddy the waters in us trying to make realistic predictions. And here's the reality: no matter how much we try to do predictions, we're wrong. There's none of us has the ability to look truly into a crystal ball and make the exact precise predictions except for the script writers. Those are the only people. And I'm not a script writer. So only for episodes like this or for YouTube videos, but not for the entire NFL football season. A lot of great minds at work there. So we'll see what they have written up for us this season. Looking at the different divisions though, I think I'm just gonna start with the AFC North. It's the easiest for me because I am a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Shout out to all the Pittsburgh Steelers fans listening. I appreciate you guys. Hey, like this up, share it. 5-star reviews. You guys can help make this more than it's ever been. I truly appreciate it. But if you're Cleveland Browns fan, Cincinnati Bengals fan, Baltimore Ravens fan, I'll accept you. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to delineate different people within within a listener's thing. It's always fun to banter back and forth. I'm sure any of you can also attest to that. It's always fun conversation. And looking at the AFC North, I think AFC North, bias or not, is the most difficult division in football. It has been last year. It just continues to be, as the Browns have built their team into something, as Joe Burrow is healthy, as the Steelers consistently do what they do, and Mike Tomlin and the team consistently find themselves over 500, as the Baltimore Ravens constantly have either a stud defense or an MVP offense, or a little bit mixtures of both different years like last year. And so looking at this season, I really think we're going to see the AFC North repeat as the only division in football to have everybody get double-digit wins, everybody have winning records. I really do think that we're going to see that again. It was the first time that happened. I forget when it was. It was the first time that a full division had that happen since, I think the stat is since like 1930s. It's been insanely long since that's ever happened, because it's really not a realistic stat. But it happened last year. The Steelers at 10-7, and this year I really believe each team only improved, or supposedly improved. Obviously, anything can go either way, but I really think that the AFC North, everybody goes on the winning side of things, and I've seen a lot where people are jumping on the train with the Cincinnati Bengals becoming the AFC North winners, which, I mean, anything's possible, and I think Joe Burrow is a great quarterback, but I think we get a little hyped up after the star quarterback was injured for the rest of the season, and now he's back, and all of a sudden there's been some changes, and actually they've lost some people in the defensive secondary from what I know. And is the run game going to be as good, and yada yada yada. I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves if we're going to put the Bengals all of a sudden as this like 12-win, 13-win team. The For me, I still have, obviously I want the Steelers to perform to their potential, but the reality of that, unfortunately, is not very high. Who do I have winning the AFC North? I have the Baltimore Ravens. I think when you look at the Baltimore Ravens and what they've set up in this offseason, the only part that kind of makes me question what they'll be able to do is, did the loss of Patrick Queen affect their linebacking? Do they have the receivers they need? Those are the two big things I've heard from different Baltimore fans. They don't believe they needed Patrick Queen anymore. I don't know if that's a coping mechanism or if that's a true statement, but I think everybody's on the same page that, man, it'd still be good to have a true number one wideout. And so I'm curious how that's going to affect them. Mark Andrews healthy, King Henry in the backfield now. I think there's a lot of positives leaning in the way of Baltimore and what they'll be able to accomplish, but I don't think that it's going to be a sweep of the division. I don't think it's going to easily be a Baltimore Raven division. The Browns have another great roster across the board. The biggest question for them is Deshaun Watson going to be even just a good quarterback? He doesn't have to be the quarterback he was in Houston, but is he going to be a good quarterback? And I would say, is Stefanski and the coaching staff, are they going to actually lean into different strengths? I remember hearing from a lot of Cleveland fans last year about, you have this strength, and obviously there was the injury with Nick Chubb that happened, but even before that, you had the running strength. And even the past 2 years, when you have Chubb and you had Hunt, you had the ability to just run the ball at will. And now they have a receiving core that they can lean into as well. But they have to balance the football. They have to balance the game. one of the issues that they would do is with the running opportunities that they have, you would see first down, second down, third down, all passes, and wonder why they're going 3 and out. And I do think that that's one of the biggest things that they have to get under control. Deshaun Watson has to be at least a good quarterback. He doesn't have to be great. He just has to be at least a good quarterback. And the play calling there has to be consistent. They have to be balanced at how they play football. Defensively, they're going to be a hard unit to beat. They really are. Obviously, you have Myles Garrett coming off a controversial defensive player of the year. I know, Steelers fan, I'm going to say something like that, but you have the defensive player of the year. You have a great looking secondary, and just the whole nine of that defense looks good. And so across the entire AFC North, there's a lot of great football. I know I didn't really mention a lot about the Steelers, but the Steelers are the Steelers. I mean, even if they had last year's roster, it'd be hard to count them out from being 500 or more just based upon what they consistently find themselves doing. Obviously, you got TJ Watt, Minka, Cam Hayward, Patrick Queen, Joey Porter Jr. You've got all these hands on defense. And offensively, you've got many of pieces to be able to make things happen. Arthur Smith in an OC, questionable pieces here in the preseason with preseason play, especially from the offensive line. Then obviously that has been and continues to be the biggest question mark in the AFC North. Will Arthur Smith actually be able to bring Najee to a similar, not the same, but a similar opportunity as he did King Henry in Tennessee? Is he going to be able to influence the run game, create some power run football, create opportunities that we see have been strengths for people like Russell Wilson and Justin Fields with some of that boot action and play action reliant offense? That's going to be huge. But the offensive line has got to play good football. And if they can't do that, I mean, even just within the division, you're going to have a problem. Going to have a big problem. And one of the things I've mentioned a lot is the last 8 weeks of the season for the Steelers is the hardest stretch of football for any team in the NFL this year, if ever, in my opinion. They play all 6 of their division games in 8 weeks, plus then the other 2 weeks, the Eagles and the Chiefs. How do you do that? So for me, the first 8 games, the first 9 games, but the first 8 weeks, because they have a week 9 bye, I believe it is, you have to go at least 6-2, 7-2. You have to, because those final games, say you go 4-4, if you're not 6-2 to start to go 10-7, you're not going to be doing what you need to. And I know mathematically I'm a little off there to go 6-2, 6-3, 7-2. That's what it is. Then you go 10-7 or 11-6. Like, you have to do that. You have to do that and perform. Now, I will say Tomlin and the Steelers have always performed better against harder teams. Like when they are up against the wall and they have this hard situation, he has such a crazy. I didn't have it for today, but there's a stat that Tomlin's winning percentage when they win by one score, so 7 points or less, is insanity. It's insane at what level he comes out. The Steelers come out as the winners, and so I mean with them, there's obviously Jaylen Warren here with a 2 to 4 week, questionable for week 1 of the regular season. That's questionable. Oh, I didn't even say I'm recording this here towards the end of August, to be able to drop here the beginning of September for the first week. So some of these pieces may have more knowledge when we get to that, like injury status and stuff of Jaylen Warren and such. But for the North in general, I have the Baltimore Ravens coming out on top. For some people, that's not a surprise. I've seen a lot leaning, like I said earlier, for the Bengals. Only I've only really seen Steelers fans or Cleveland Browns fans saying their respective team will be the North Division winner. And I apologize if you hear any extraneous extraneouses like that honk or anything like that going on, because there's been an insane amount of big rigs driving by our house this past month or so. It's actually been obnoxious with how much they're going through, hitting their jigs and stuff when my kids are trying to sleep at 3 in the morning. But anyway, that's a tired and aggravated dad speaking. So But I got the Ravens winning the division, but I have everybody close. Going between my different projections of the season, I've been through a couple different mocks. I have the Ravens finishing out at around 12-5, 11-6, somewhere in there. I really think the AFC North is going to stay really close. And so I have the Ravens. I think last I had them 11-6 is what I'm writing them down at 12-5, 11-6, and then close behind them I had originally, actually, surprisingly, the Steelers at 11-6, but I also had the Bengals at 11-6, and so I'm going to be realistic though and put the Bengals there at 11-6, number 2 in the division, have the Steelers at 10-7. And the Browns at 10-7. I have the Browns at fourth at 10-7, not because I think they're any worse than the Steelers or anything like that, but because statistically, the Steelers have not finished fourth in the division since like 1986. So they may finish with the same record, but the Steelers will have the tiebreaker. Here's one of the interesting things with this. One of the interesting looks with this is that I think all four AFC North teams, for the first time, I don't know if this has never happened, but all four AFC North teams I think are going to be in the playoffs. That's what's insane. And that may be a really, really big take here, but I've got the Ravens winning, all four making the playoffs, and then move. So what do you think? I mean, is that a little bit of hometown bias? Is that a little bit of um, disdain? I know a lot of Cleveland Browns are, how you're not, Browns will finish last. Yeah, well, they said that last year, or they said that 2 years ago, right? And last year they didn't finish last in the division. The Bengals did. But the Browns, to me, have a lot to prove in consistency and capability, because how many times have the Browns have a hot roster, a great looking roster, and just haven't done much with it, haven't done what they should with it. You can say the same about the Steelers. I'm not misstating that at all. But the Browns, though, I think have something to prove with that, in the fact of, like, you've got to, like, take it there, man. Like, get there. Okay, yeah, you beat the Steelers 5 years ago in the first round of playoffs. Like, okay, like, that's awesome. But why is that a Super Bowl win? Okay, all right, enough on that. Tell me what you guys think. AFC North, who do you got? I got the Ravens. I just want to give some encouragement. And one of the things about making predictions with the NFL season, it's a lot of fun, but it's very similar to life when we consider the things that we don't yet know, with the uncertainties, the unknown. I myself have been dealing with a few years now, the unknowns of where next is, what different things look like. But one of the things I can tell you is to embrace the uncertainty. Uncertainty is uncomfortable, but it's a natural part of life. It's where growth happens. Without uncomfortable things, we don't see growth happen. Challenge breeds growth. And so embrace the unknown. It's an opportunity for new experience. It's an opportunity for new learning. Just like teams in the NFL face unknowns of a new season with hope and preparation, we can approach life, the uncertainties of life, with a mindset that looks for potential and possibilities rather than fear. The AFC South. I'd like to go north, south, east, west. So that's how we're going to go. And the AFC South is going to be a fun division to watch. I think it's going to be harder to predict than people want it to be. Although some of the preseason stuff that I'm seeing, like, I'm questioning. I'm I'm actually questioning Anthony Richardson. I think he's an athletic freak, and I think he's going to be able to play football. But and but are we going to see something similar to what people were arguing about with Lamar Jackson? His first couple seasons is just like, oh, he just runs the ball. He can't actually throw it or anything like that. I don't know. But from what we've seen in preseason, I'm kind of questioning some of the things with his accuracy and such. He has a big body. He will run the football well. But overall, how are the Colts going to do if he cannot have consistency in the accuracy? I don't know. But CJ Stroud, the Texans, uh, obviously look real good. Defense looks real good. So it's hard to bet against the Texans winning the AFC South, and in fact, that's the case for me. I have the Texans winning the AFC South at I think 12-5, 11-6, 12-5 most likely. But the real question comes down to the Colts and the Jaguars. Who is going to be there? The Titans could surprise us, but I get the feel from the Titans. It's kind of like some of those NBA teams we've seen over the years, to where they grab and nab from all over the place of like, oh, let's grab this guy over here, let's pull this guy in over here, and like the Buccaneers when they did that around Tom Brady to set up the Super Bowl run, like it made okay, that guy makes sense. Oh wow, that was a great pickup by that front office. Da 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 da. But here with the Titans, it was very much, oh okay, oh all right. Like it just I don't know. I don't know if anybody else has felt this way. I know Titans fans, you probably hate me for speaking like that about Tennessee. Um, I actually was a Vrabel fan, but I've heard a lot of people being like Vrabel wasn't it. I don't know. The Titans I have finishing last in the division. The question is, how poorly are they going to end up? How poorly are they going to play? But I have the Texans with C.J. Stroud and the team down there ending around 12-5 again this year to win the division. The young coach there, I think, is going to have another another great year. I mean, I'm curious about coaching of the year. Is he going to be one that is up for coach of the year? It's difficult. I'm not sure how they award those when you have different teams that were great the previous year and then continue to be great the next year. Like Dan Campbell and stuff like with the Lions and such. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do coach of the year with that, but I don't know. We keep an eye there in Houston. I think Houston will definitely do better this year than Dallas will. But Jaguars, I have the Jaguars finishing around 9-8, and the Colts are right around there too, 9-8. One of them I think will sneak a 10-7, but they're going to be finishing right neck and neck with each other. I think Trevor Lawrence, he's shown some flashes in preseason of who we think he can be, who a lot of us have thought he could be. And I don't know. I think he came into a terrible situation with the Urban Meyer situation there in Jacksonville, but I just there's a part of the gut that just doesn't like the venture of, oh yeah, this is going to be what Jacksonville has right now is the team to ride into the playoffs. It just does not look that way to me. I will say this though. The Jaguars or the Colts are one of them can potentially be a team that sneaks a wild card spot. One of the statistics shows that almost 50% of the field changes from year to year, and so I've got the Texans at like 12-5, the Colts and Jaguars at 9-8. One of them could sneak a 10-7, possibly a wild card berth, and then I've got the Titans at around 6-11. I don't think they're going to do a lot of crazy things. Maybe they could sneak to a 7-10, but I think we're going to continue. We're going to be seeing more of a rebuild happening there. What are you guys' thoughts? If you're an AFC South fan, am I on point? Am I off? How do you think? Am I too high on the Colts? Am I too low on the Jaguars? What are we thinking? Give me your thoughts. Before we move on to the East, think about this. When facing the unknown in life, the unknown of a new season, focus on what you can control. In football and in life, there are things that we can control and things we can't. It's important to focus on what's within our control, our attitudes, our actions, our responses and reactions, and let go of the rest. Let go of what you can't control. Somebody needs to hear that today. Like a coach prepares his team with the game plan and with the strategy, we can prepare ourselves by setting goals, by staying disciplined, by being adaptable when things don't go as expected. As a Christian, I can prepare myself by growing, by prayer, by reading God's word, by building up my faith, by building into community. Focus on what you can control. Don't let others dictate how you're going to respond. Don't let others dictate the decisions that you're going to make. Moving on to the East, the AFC East. This is one where I think a lot of people are hyped to see Aaron Rodgers back. I am. I love watching Aaron Rodgers play football. I I don't know. I don't think he's going to be bad. Don't get me wrong. Like he just won back-to-back MVPs like in the past 4 years. So I don't think he's like done. I don't think that. But the question is, what is that unit as a whole going to do? How is that going to work? It'll be fun to see how Brees Hall will perform for the Jets. You know, a little fantasy outlook there. He could be he could have a lot of potential. Him alongside of Bijan in Atlanta, I think there'll be huge opportunity for them both in the running game and the passing game. But the Bills, I still think it's their division to lose. And Josh Allen will have to play MVP caliber football this year, which I think he can and will. Dalton Kincaid is going to be, he's going to be having a year. He's going to have to be. But he was like, what, number 2 or 3 receiver on the Bills last year. And now Stephon Diggs gone. They have Keon Coleman coming in, and they have a couple other not really named people, but I think they're gonna be fine. I think they're gonna be fine. Their defense is still gonna be good. I do believe that the Bills have missed their window. The Buffalo Bills have missed. I think they had a 3-year window of opportunity to win the Super Bowl, and I think they've missed it. So obviously, Bills proved me wrong. Go win your first Super Bowl, but I really think with how the rest of the division look, well, we're going to take a moment of silence for the New England Patriots. The Bills, the Dolphins, the Jets. I think it's going to be really interesting. It's crazy how that's flipped, right? If you're somebody who's watched football or been around football over the past 2 decades, to see everything it was with Brady, and even why did I skimp on it? Well, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. The quarterback who was there, who then Bill chose Brady over, and obviously 2 decades of Brady and Bill. You it, and not much happening elsewhere in the AFC East. You know, that's been one of the arguments and one of the things which I actually have been a kind of supporter of thinking, which is look at the rest of the division. If they had some more competition or division, it might have reshaped some things. I don't think it would have completely reshaped things because obviously Bill and Brady and the Patriots, they obviously were able to get wins when they mattered against teams that mattered in situations that mattered. So I don't think it just came down to the division, but they did have a really cupcake division, and now we're in the exact opposite. The Bills, the Dolphins, the Jets, all having really good teams, not just decent teams, really good teams. And the Patriots are just like let's trade around away our best player in Judon, and let's just let's throw the spaghetti through wall, see if it sticks. Like I would be surprised if the Patriots actually get 3 wins this year. I'm not gonna lie. I think the Patriots will be like a 3-14 team, something like that. And so very bottom, very probably the worst. No, I think the Patriots will be the worst team in the league, in the AFC conference, at least in the conference. Probably about 3 wins, and one of those will probably just be a surprise win, and then 2 of those will probably be division wins. They'll just be those hiccups that happen within divisions. You lose to a rival that you probably shouldn't have, but rival football is always different than regular football. So they'll probably get like 3 wins. But I have between the Bills, the Dolphins, and the Jets, I'm thinking they'll all be up around 9-8, 10-7. I don't see a 12-win team. I don't see a 12. If the Jets fulfill what everybody's hyping them up to be, yes, they can. If Josh Allen plays absolutely lights out MVP caliber and the defense plays top 5 defense in the league, can they be a 12 to 14 win team? Yes. With the schedules that I was seeing with all of them, I think the Bills can still win the division, but for the sake of, this is one of the things that's really interesting. For the sake of the making it and birth into playoffs, I am leaning towards the Jets winning the division. But I think the Bills, Jets, Dolphins are all right around that like 10-7, 9-8 record. The Dolphins have to prove that they can win big games. They have to win against the hardest teams in the league. They have to win in the North. They have to win in the North, and I'm not talking AFC, NFC North. I'm talking in the cold. They have to win in those late season games in Green Bay. They have to win those games, and so one of the that's one of the biggest factors to me with the Dolphins. But I have the Jets winning the I think the Jets winning the division at 10-7, the Bills right there at 10-7 with them, the Dolphins at, we'll say, 10-7 or 9-8 probably, and then the Patriots at like 3-14. So the East completely different from what we've seen. The past few years we've been seeing it lean in this way, but again, Dolphins have to prove what they are. The Jets are completely unproven. So it's one of those like in fantasy football where you have such a insanely high ceiling for a player, but you have such a low floor because they haven't proven it yet. And so that's what's happening in New York, I think. I do think that they can make that happen. What I'm predicting happening for the Jets, though, is a kind of a slow start, and then the second half of the season we'll see a little bit of a run. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. They'll create a little drama there, but that may or may not be enough of what it takes to set them up to win maybe a tiebreaker or something like that, to win the division and therefore go to playoffs. It's hard to imagine the playoffs without the Bills. But if that happens with the Jets, I could see that happening. And especially when we consider the almost 50% new faces in the playoffs every season, the Bills could be one of those teams that drop out. The Bengals could be, oh, sorry for hitting the mic there. The Bengals could be in from the North. The Colts or Jaguars could be in the wild card from the North. I'm talking teams that were not in last year that could be in this year. Then the Jets would be in from the East, not being in last year. And next up, we'll talk about the West. But let me know, AFC East, what do you think? Do you think I'm on point? If you're a fan of a team, how do you think they're going to do? Let me know your thoughts of the AFC East. Trust the process, people. Now, that's been a phrase in Philadelphia with the basketball team for decades, right? But when it comes to facing challenges, facing the unknown, facing uncertainties in life of a new season, or struggles or challenges that you're facing in life, let alone your team might be facing on the field, sometimes we just need to trust the process. Success doesn't happen overnight, and the path forward isn't always clear. It's not always easy, and sometimes it includes a sidestep here, a step back to move over here, and then step forward. Trust in the process, knowing that each step, even the uncertain ones, are leading you somewhere. Teams trust their training, they trust their preparation, they even trust when the outcome is unknown. Similarly, we should trust that our hard work, that faith, that perseverance will guide us, that the Lord will guide us through uncertain times. He's available to you. He's available to us. He wants to walk beside us and with us. Trust the process. All right, we got to finish out the AFC West here. With the AFC West, obviously, I think everybody's on the same page, except for rival team fans in the AFC West. and that is the Chiefs. I don't see anything about the Chiefs dropping them. I think this year, I mean, they're going to be just as good, if not better. And as frustrating as that might be, people talking about the first team to three-peat. I don't know about that, but they're still going to have a great team, a great football team. But here's the thing: the Raiders and the Chargers, especially. I'm not on the Broncos train. I'm just not. I do think there's some flash for potential. I do think that things are being set up in a direction for their future, especially within the next 2 seasons. But as for this year, I don't believe they're going to be doing as great as some people are jumping on the train to be. I'm curious what we're going to see out of Sean Payton as a coach. With how he handled the situation with Russell Wilson. And I know a lot of people talking about the Russell Wilson situation, and I think people just want scapegoats. When the Broncos weren't doing great, it was easy to blame him. And I know statistics don't tell everything, but they do give a baseline of understanding. And the baseline of understanding is that Russell Wilson is still a decent quarterback. Some of you might know, hey, he's a Steelers fan. Of course, he's going to say that, hoping that Russell does well for Pittsburgh. I'm just looking at the statistics. He had a decent year last 2 seasons. He was not handled well by his head coach last year. Their defense gave up a lot in a lot of games last year and did not have them in scenarios to help out the offense. Like there's different pieces that definitely led into the fact of why they did not end up with a great season overall. But I don't think Russell Wilson was the lone carrier of that. I don't even think he was the main carrier, if I'm honest. I'm curious to see how Sean Payton does this year. What is going to happen with a new young quarterback with a shaping of the team that he wants, and what is he going to be without Drew Brees? That's the question. That's really the question. And so the Broncos, I think the Broncos would be lucky to get 6 wins. I know Denver just shut this podcast off, but I really tell me what 7 teams that they're going to beat on their schedule. I don't see it. I don't see more than 6 wins. I think I have them around 5-12 or maybe 6-11. Originally in my first mock, I had them at like 4-13. I don't think they're going to do that bad. Okay, but I do think maybe towards the 6 wins, similar to the Titans. But the Chargers, for me, Harbaugh, he's done it before. He's an enjoyable guy to watch at the press conferences, but it's his first year in. Justin Herbert, what is he actually going to accomplish? Eckler gone. There's a lot of question marks. Defensively, they're going to have a great rush up front again, but the Chargers, I think they're going to be middling around that 500 record. And I think for the sake of math, I can't put everybody at like 9-8, 10-7, 11-6, right? I think with the Broncos at like 5 or 6 wins on the year, I think the Chargers will be around 8-9. I think they're setting up for good things, but I don't think they're going to be the team that then ends up in a wild card this year. Many people might want them to be, especially with but you say 50% of the teams change. Almost 50% of the teams change from year to year. I don't think the Chargers are that. But you know who I do think is that for the West? The Las Vegas Raiders. Now here's the thing for me. The Raiders, for me, are the AFC Cinderella team. They are the AFC team that I want to say, hey, everybody, let's keep an eye on these guys. The Raiders are a team. There's something about the chemistry, the coaching, the atmosphere, the feel of the Raiders this year. I mean, it started midway through last year. That make me kind of, let's watch it. And what I mean by Cinderella team is a team that I'm predicting to be right there at the edge of wild card, if not right on the fringe, to watch out because they could make a splash. I don't think there's a team this year in the AFC that will go from last year to this year like the Texans did 2 years ago to last year. Maybe the Jets if they fulfill potential, but I don't even know if that's comparable because the Texans had what, like 4 wins 2 years ago or something. I don't remember. But the Raiders, though, are a team. I think the Raiders will go 9-8, maybe 10-7. If they want to be the wild card splash that I think they can be, they have no choice but to get double digit wins. I just think the AFC in general is too tough across the board. They have to at least go 10-7. I don't see them getting 11-6, but uh, uh, maybe the Raiders for me, they're my Cinderella squad. The Chiefs I have at like 12-5. I have the Chiefs getting the number one seed in the AFC, followed closely by the Texans, and then I think I had the Ravens and then the Jets. I think I have it in that order, and and then wild card is really kind of up in the air. I said I really think that all of the AFC North makes it this year. It's very realistic. It would probably shake out the 5 for the Bengals, the 6 for the Steelers, the 7 seed for the Browns. But Colts, Jaguars, I think one of those could sneak in. The Bills, it'd be hard to see them not in there. And like I said, the Raiders. The Raiders for me are one of those. Look out for them. What do you think, though? What do you think? AFC West, AFC as a whole. I've got the Ravens, the Texans, the Jets, and the Chiefs all as division winners in the AFC. How do we feel about that? If you haven't liked the video already or shared it with someone and you like those takes, be sure to do that now. But I want to hear you guys' thoughts. Tell me in the comments. Tell me in the next TikTok live. And from here, guys, let's cover the NFC. NFC is going to be a little bit shorter, a little bit quicker. I realize I got a little winded in how I've been talking about the AFC, but I want to make sure we get through this and cover it all here in this one episode. Find strength in community. We were created to be in community with other people. And that's a huge thing when it comes to facing things we're unsure about, facing the unknowns, a future that we have no clue what's going to happen, the uncertainties of life. Find strength in community. Facing the unknowns, the uncertainties is easier when you aren't doing it alone. Isolation and aloneness, I'd say loneliness, but being alone, they are they make it very difficult to face unknowns without struggle, without heavy struggle, anxiety, and frustrations. Lean on community. Find community, family, friends, faith, to find strength and support within these uncertainties that are to come in the season that you're in. In football, teams rely on each other to navigate the highs and lows of the season, to navigate the highs and lows of different moments in a single game, in a single quarter, in a single drive, let alone in the entirety of a season. And in life, having a supportive community that can help you face uncertainties with confidence and hope, that's the key. Find strength in community, find community, seek it out. Seek out community and take this as well is think through this. Bad company ruins good morals. Even when you have a good idea, a good approach to build and find strength within community, find good community, because when you find bad community, it begins to shape you and affect you in ways worse than it would have been to not have that community in the first place. We're coming into the NFC. Man, this one was a lot more difficult for me, being that I'm always living in and about the AFC as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. But for the NFC, I think there's some clear-cut winners, some clear-cut suckers, and a lot of mess in between. And so for me, starting, like I said earlier, like to start with the north, south, east, west. And so with the North, this one's already a contention. A lot of people between what two teams? The Lions and the Packers. A lot of people ride in the Caleb Williams Bears train. And I got to tell you this, I was saying for months until we got to see actual live football from him that Caleb Williams, I got to be real with you, Caleb Williams was kind of giving me Jamarcus Russell vibes. Uh, like I was not feeling it at all. And I'm not crazy about it. I'm not jumping on the crazy train right now. with it. But I got to say, after watching some preseason football from Caleb Williams and from them as a whole, I do like what I'm seeing. I don't feel like he's the Jamarcus Russell guy like I was thinking he was. So I want to be very clear on that. But I will say, I still believe some of what we're seeing is not just specific to Caleb Williams. Some of what we've seen, we saw in Chicago with Justin Fields. Some of what we saw with Caleb Williams, we even saw with Mitch Trubisky in his first 2 seasons. And so I'm not getting high on the Caleb Williams train and seeing what the Bears can do. I do think as a whole unit, there's going to be improvement from the Bears. Hands down. Defense still looks great. Offense has a lot of good pieces in play. And so I think there's a lot of improvement unless Eberflus, that's who it is, right? Unless he tanks the engine. But I do believe the Lions still carry the mantle. I think people also are high on the pack. The Lions have proven that they can be 11, 12, 13 win team. But the Packers, I think they have a stud cast, but we got to see it. We got to see it roll over this year. A little bit of that anticipation, a little bit of that unsurety of what actually is going to come out of it with some of the changes that weren't a part of the squad last year. I think the Lions win the AFC North. I have them at 13-4. Lions at 13-4. I think they have a lot of great pieces in play, and I think the Packers. I had the Packers at 11-6. I As I say it, I kind of question because as I gained more understanding recently about like their roster and such, I'm like, that's looks good. It looks good there in Green Bay. And obviously you get to the late season games, Lambeau, one of the hardest stadiums to play in the cold weather, goes in their favor, especially with the cast that they have there. I kind of want to lean towards 12-5, but I'm going to stay at 11-6, look for that one win swing. And also I just think they're going to be the top wild card spot. I think the Lions will win the division, but the Packers will hold on to that top wild card spot hand down. Nobody is going to be able to take it away from them. And so then the Bears, though, I have 9-8, 10-7. Like I said, I do think that there's an improvement over last year, and they may be on the verge of the wild card. I'm not sure how it'll line up, if they'll be a just miss or just make team, but I don't see them making a run in the playoffs or anything. I do see them revitalizing some energy for Chicago fans and for Chicago football, and hopefully creating some revival with the rivalry between them and Green Bay. So that's going to be fun to begin to watch. Obviously, Green Bay has just rolled over into another new era and new roster of success. So when they face the Bears, Aaron Rodgers may have been their daddy, but now is Jordan Love the new stepdaddy? I don't know, but but I think the Lions still though win the division, and here's one of the things that's going to be interesting to see. With all that has happened here in the offseason into the preseason for the Minnesota Vikings, are they going to be able to overcome a lot of pieces? Sam Bradford, what are we going to be able to see? Are we going to see a Josh Dobbs kind of thing where you'll get a few exciting things in the beginning and then he'll unfortunately fall to what he actually is? Um, I don't know. Having a player like Justin Jefferson, how long would that be able to go on? Don't they have a really good rookie on defense that they got who I believe isn't he like an edge rusher or something like that? I forgot to say that earlier, by the way, about the AFC East with the Buffalo Bills and the safety that they got in, like defensive rookie of the year watch. Just saying. But here in Minnesota, there's an edge rusher guy that they have that I think I can't remember their names all of a sudden. I'm not good with rookie names, unfortunately. But I think he's one to watch out for as well. The other one to watch out for was Latu. I forget where's he playing. I just was looking at him from somewhere. But anyway, I'm getting off topic here. The Vikings, though, I do think they're going to be bad. I just because they finished first in the division last year with Kirk Chains at the lead, I do think they're going to be playing some matchups and have a heavy schedule that they're not going to be able to rise to with the different injuries that they have, different roster that they have, and especially at the quarterback spot. The quarterback spot, and I'm curious about how's the offensive line going to work with that. So I have the Vikings finishing at the bottom of the barrel in the NFC North, not completely in the NFC as a whole, but I have them around that 5 wins, like 5-12, which might be low to some, but again, show me 6 teams on that they play on their schedule that they're going to have a win against, and I think you're hard pressed. I think you're hard pressed. So the Vikings, I got around 5-12, and then I've got the Bears finishing third at 9-8, 10-7, and then the Pack at like 11-6, 12-5, like I said, but definitely taking the 5th seed in the wild card, and the Lions winning the North. What do you think? The NFC for me is full of uncertainty and unknowing because it's my weaker spot. But not only am I facing the unknown of making predictions in the NFC, but in general, looking ahead for your team. I don't know what your team is, but I can tell you this: hold on to hope. When you're looking ahead for your team, but you're also looking ahead in life, hold on to hope. Uncertainty, unknowing, it doesn't mean hopelessness. Just like struggle doesn't mean failure. It means to contend with. Even in the unknown, there's always hope. Hope gives us strength to move forward, even when the path is unclear and not easy. Just as fans hold on to hope for their team's success, just as you're holding on to hope for how your team's going to do this season, we can hold on to hope that no matter how uncertain things may get, or they may seem versus actually be, there's a bigger picture at play. There's a bigger picture that we don't see yet. God's in control of that. Not you, not me. Hold on to hope. Hope is a powerful drug. Probably one of the most difficult ones to make educated guesses on every year. It's so muddy down there. No irony to the swamps, but you've got the Falcons, Bucks, Saints, and Panthers, and I want to start with the Panthers. The Panthers, to me, I got a buddy who's a Panthers fan, and I feel bad for Bryce. I feel bad for Carolina. Ever since the Super Bowl run with Cam Newton, it has been just a perpetual rebuild and a struggling situation. And I think Bryce will. This is my projection for Bryce, unfortunately, is he's not going to be terrible, but I really feel like he is going to do better as a quarterback when he has a new opportunity elsewhere. That's kind of the feel I get for Carolina, that they're going to have a low year again this year. And we're going to see probably some changes that have to happen. Coaching staff, player, and more on the players. I mean, they got rid of Brian Burns for some reason. I don't know all the details with that, but you got rid of your best player. And so I think that Bryce will be one that they'll look to get a new quarterback, and Bryce will go somewhere else, and Bryce will become a decent quarterback for somewhere else, better than he would in Carolina. This year, I have Carolina finishing really low, probably the worst in the NFC. I think the Patriots will be the worst in the entire NFL, but the Panthers I have down close to their around 3 wins. Maybe 4 wins. But again, look at their look at their schedule and tell me what teams they're going to beat. I think we're looking at like a 3 or 4 win, so 3-14, 4-13, something like that this year. Bottom, not even fighting for the winning the division. But if you're part of the TikTok lives, I had conversation about this. Because of how the schedule lines up for weeks 17 and 18, the Panthers play the Bucks and the Panthers play the Falcons. One of those 2 weeks, both of those weeks, I forget which order. I really think what will happen, a little drama here for the NFC South. I think that the Panthers will get a win over one of those 2 division rivals and be a part of the deciding factor of who will represent the NFC South in the playoffs as the division winner. I think that's going to come down. The Saints look sneaky. I think their defense looks real good. I've seen some question marks about their defensive coordinator, though. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. I don't live down Nerlens, but the Saints I have going 8-9. I think they're a team that's going to be kind of on the fringe, unsure yet what the offense is going to do. But the the defense looks good. Defense looks good, and defense can help carry you in different. As a Steelers fan, I can tell you that 100%. New Orleans fans, defense can help carry you. So they'll need to lean hard into that. But I don't see them becoming a wild card team. I see them at 8-9, really close, probably right up neck and neck against the Bucks and the Falcons. Everybody's flying high on the Falcons, pun intended, but and I am a fan of Kirk. I do like what they've been doing and what they've been investing in with Atlanta. It kind of makes me, it kind of feels similar to what they were trying to do a couple years ago around bringing Tom Brady in, trying to bring in these certain pieces to really shore up defense, offensive line, all this other stuff. And I don't think Kirk, don't mishear me, I don't think Kirk is Tom Brady, but I think he's probably one of, if not the most underappreciated quarterback in the history of the NFL, just when you look at what he has been able to accomplish and yet how he is treated and thought of. But the Buccaneers, speaking of quarterbacks who are underappreciated, Baker Mayfield. Put Baker Mayfield in the current Cleveland Browns roster and situation, and I think the Browns win the North. I really do. Baker Mayfield, I like the guy. I think he did a lot for Cleveland. And he got shafted, which as a Steelers fan, I don't know that I'm too mad about that they did that, but at the same time, he's coming into his own down there in Tampa Bay. He looks fun. He looks fresh. A lot of that roster is coming around him, and a lot of things are being set up. You've got one of the best players on the offensive line in Tristan Wirfs, one of the most consistent players, receivers in the league, in Mike Evans. He is aging, but he's still been probably the most consistent receiver in the NFL. And so I think the Buccaneers will be fighting for the division. I do think the Falcons win the NFC South. I don't think that they do what everybody's predicting them to do in being like this insane, I shouldn't say everyone, but what a lot of people are predicting them to be in this like 12, 13, 14 win team. But I do think that they end up around 10-7. And like I said, I think the Bucks and the Falcons 9-8, 10-7, but I think the winner of the division is going to be decided by whichever of them loses to the Panthers in week 17 or 18, since they both play them. Whoever wins that, whoever the Panthers beat will be knocked out of the division win. Will they be knocked out of the wild card spot? Maybe as well. But I have the Falcons winning the NFC South, the Bucks right on their tail, the Saints sniffing right behind, but the Panthers nowhere near close. South fans, what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts. Another key to facing difficulties, facing uncertainties in life, looking back at how you've overcome certain uncertainties in the past can give you confidence. It can give you confidence to face future unknowns. Reflect on those past victories. Reflect on the little wins. The little wins matter for yourself, for others. It's a great way to encourage other people, even in life, is to celebrate those little wins for our spouse, for our family member, for our children. Teams often review past games. They do that to learn, to gain confidence for future challenges that they'll face. Similarly, reflecting in your life on how you've navigated and gone through past uncertainties, past the past unknowns, they can remind you of your resilience and ability to overcome for future unknowns and maybe the current unknown and uncertainties of life that you face, just like teams, just like your team in the NFL. Reflect on those past victories, celebrate the little wins. NFC East, only two more divisions to go here, but the East, oh man, I live in Pennsylvania, and so I'm around Eagles fans all the time, and I got to tell you, sometimes it's similar to having conversations with Cowboys fans. I know Eagles fans and many East fans and many people in general will make statements about Cowboys and against Cowboys fans, but I got to tell you, I have some friends and such who are Eagles fans, love them to death, but man, sometimes Eagles fans are difficult. Y'all are passionate. I appreciate that. And so Cowboys fans are just delusional, right? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I do think there are going to be some changes though in the NFC East this year. Okay, so I maybe shouldn't attack different fan bases. I'm not trying to. I'm just trying to poke around, poke the bear, have some fun. But this last year, the Cowboys won the division, right? And 3 straight years of going of 12 wins. Listen, great run, but what have we seen this offseason? We've been seeing a lot of drama, a lot of issues happening with good old Jerry, and what's happening down there with Dak, with CD. Are we going to see it next year with? For some reason I keep blanking on his name. Not no, that's not it. Number 11. You guys know who I'm talking about. For some reason my name keeps Micah Parsons. Golly, there it is. Are we going to see some issues with his contract next year? We'll see. But this year, I think the Cowboys take a step back. They don't have the same run game. There's a lot of issue. There's a lot of pieces there that I think will affect the locker room. I think defensively, they're still going to have a great defense, but there are going to be some issues. Also, their schedule that they have. I see the Cowboys stepping back a little bit, maybe going around 9-8. Yeah, 3 games back from the past 3 years. 10-7 maybe, but I got them at 9-8. That might seem low to some, but I just am not. And like when the Cowboys are good, I've predicted them to be good. So some people are, oh, you're just another Cowboy hater. And no, no, like I'm not a fan of the Cowboys. I'm not a fan of the Cowboys whatsoever. But for example, Tony Romo's last year, Dak Prescott's rookie year, I was hyped on Dak Prescott. Picked him up in like the 7th round of my fantasy league that year. Went on to win the league with Dak Prescott at quarterback. Just saying. Like I've had the years that I've had a feeling for the Cowboys. I've said what I've said. So can't come at me as a Cowboys hater. But I hate the Cowboys. I'm just kidding. So the Eagles though, are the team that I think is the most improved. I think is the most improved in the NFC East, and it it can be scary. I think schedule wise and on the road specifically, the Eagles will need to prove a couple things. The Eagles and the Cowboys last year were not the greatest on the road, especially the Cowboys. They were not the greatest on the road. At home, they do great. They both do really well. But on the road, they need to string together some road wins. And I think the Eagles would do that if health stays in their favor. They have pieces. They just signed Dotson, the receiver from Washington. So that's going to be an interesting addition with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. So I'm curious to see how all those pieces play together. But injuries in Philadelphia is a thing they have to pray against. And I have the Eagles winning the division. I have them winning it at around like 11-6, and the Giants. Here's one of my biggest hot takes. I think, and maybe it's not a hot take to some, but I think we're going to see Dable facing the chopping block mid to end of this season. I think we're going to see we're going to see more of the Danny Dimes to Danny Crimes and back up and down again all season long. And with that, defensively, I think they'll have some things go their way defensively, but I really unfortunately for the Giants see them at the bottom. I see them lucky to get 5 wins. I just I don't see the offense doing it. And it, yeah, it stinks. Um, it stinks to see that. I want to see the Giants start to. One of the things I've always enjoyed about the NFC East is usually you have teams where you have years where it's just like, okay, one, maybe 2 teams just like, okay, obvious top, and then everybody else is just garbage. Or you have the years where everybody is just all muddled together, whether they're all doing really good and they're all muddling together, trying for like 9-8, 10-6, because they're just all doing really good, or they're just all but they're all fighting with each other. So that's one of the enjoyable things watching that. But this year, I really think we're going to see the Giants flounder at the bottom, while the other three are doing decent things. Which I haven't talked about Washington yet, and I will in a second. But the Giants, yeah, I've got them somewhere between 3 and 5 wins this year. I just don't see them. Prove me wrong, New York, but man, look at their schedule, and it's just hard. Look at their offense and look at the up and down nature of Danny Dimes, and it's just questionable. Oh, here's hot take alert. I'm curious if we're going what we're going to see out of Anthony Richardson is similar to what we have seen out of Danny Dimes, out of Daniel Jones. You have these moments of capability and opportunity that are just like phenomenal. And then you have very next drive. What in the world was that? What just happened? What the heck? I wouldn't be surprised. Now, obviously, Anthony Richardson brings a different running capability in his physical capability and prowess over what Daniel Jones can do. But I'm curious if we could see a similarity in outcome and roller coaster ride happening in Indianapolis like in New York. Just saying. I think Indianapolis has a better overall team than New York does, so I think they'll still end up with some wins regardless. But that just came to my mind right now. That wasn't scripted or anything. But I'm curious if Anthony Richardson will be a similar player with more physical prowess, but with similar outcome as Daniel Jones. So, I know, crazy thing for me to say, but that brings me to the Commanders. Washington, okay, I'm probably getting ahead of myself here, but the Raiders in the AFC, to me, are the Commanders in the NFC. The Commanders, or I said that backwards, but the Commanders to me are I would say are my Cinderella squad for the NFC. Watch out for them this year. Jaden Daniels, Offensive Rookie of the Year, maybe more so than Caleb Williams. I don't know. There's a lot of pieces. Eckler and Robinson and McLaurin and what they have there and the opportunity he has to build upon as a rookie quarterback and how he's looking so far. Man, Washington for me is watch for the train because you might want to get on. Washington, I think I have them in my predictions. I have them finishing at 7-10, but watch out. I think Washington is the team in the AFC who could start rolling and could potentially push to a fringe spot, maybe even 7th seed in the wild card. Am I that crazy? I don't know. But that gives me the Eagles winning the division at 11-6, Cowboys at 9-8, Washington at 7-10, and the Giants at around like 4-13, something like that. I don't even have a specific number on them, just somewhere between like 3 and 5 wins. I just be surprised if they get any more than that. What do you guys think? North fans, especially, or sorry, East fans. Goodness gracious. Let me know your guys' thoughts. And we got one more division to go. I want to encourage you with another key here to facing uncertainties and facing challenges and circumstances in life, and that is this: faith is a guiding light. For many, faith serves as a steadying force in times of struggle, times of uncertainty. It provides a sense of peace, of calm, and direction when the future is unclear. And the faith that we have, whether it's in God or in nobody, in nothing, that will be what tries to carry us through. Just like a team trusts its game plan, having faith can provide reassurance. It can provide guidance when facing the unknown, the uncertainties of life, and it can help you keep moving forward with confidence. Faith is a guiding light. Lean into faith. Trust in the Lord. Trust his purposes, trust his plans, trust his character, trust in who he is, in who he has made you, and and what he has for you, who he has for you to become. God has a plan for you, and he wants to see the best for you. Let your faith lead you to be guided through this moment of no clarity and uncertainty and the unknown. the NFC West. Now, a lot of people have the obvious here with a certain team in the West. I'm not gonna start with them. I want to talk about the teams that I have little. I shared this on my TikTok live. I have not experienced a lot out here in the East Coast about what's happening in specifically the NFC West. The NFC West has kind of been quiet where I am. There's been some changes happening in Seattle. There's been some movement with things in I almost said St. Louis. Oh man, in Los Angeles, not only with the Chargers but also with the Rams. I apologize. Sounds like a bunch of motorcycles going by right now. But one of the teams that I've heard the least about this offseason and preseason have been the Cardinals. And so I'm really curious to see them. I think the team that they have, I want to see how Marvin Harrison Jr. does, as well as Kyler Murray. I mean, doesn't Black Ops come out this fall as well? So I'm just kidding, Cardinals fans. Am I? I don't know. So the Arizona Cardinals, though, I have them coming out at around 6-11. I don't think they're a team that's going to be bottom of the barrel like the Patriots or the Panthers, but I do think they're going to be better than the Giants. I think they'll probably be similar to the Broncos in what they're doing. Maybe the Vikings, some similar teams to them. But they always have Kyler Murray has playmaker capability, and I think they do have some pieces on their roster. Don't they have a new coaching staff? So I think there's some things that can go in their favor. But I do think that they're rebuilding over there, and so the West is a difficult division. It's just difficult alone in the fact that you have to play the Niners twice in a year. But division ball is different. Division ball is different than every other ball, and so I've got the Cardinals at about 6-11, and I could be off there, but I felt good about that number looking at their schedule and even taking a little bit of time to see what they've been doing here in the preseason and such. So we'll see how that ends up. But then comes the Seahawks and the Rams. Here's the thing. Again, going back to the whole like 50% different teams in the playoffs from last year to the next year. The Rams were in the playoffs as a wild card last year. The Seahawks have a lot of changes that have happened. I don't know how Geno Smith is going to play at quarterback. Isn't he like 33 now? And on top of, or 30? He's somewhere in that range. But without Pete Carroll, I don't know. I don't know. I'm hopeful for the guy. Like, it was cool to see him kind of respawn, if you will, revive his career in Seattle. But we'll see how that happens and rolls over here in this 24 season. I part of me, I have the Rams and the Hawks. Here's what I'm trying to say. I've got the Rams and the Hawks finishing kind of around that 500-ish area. The Rams definitely have pieces to finish higher. The Seahawks, I'm unsure. The Seahawks have always, to me, been one of those teams that always sneaks wins, especially when you go to Seattle. The 12th man, all that stuff there. They've been a team that even when they don't have the greatest roster and the greatest team, they tend to sneak something, and so that's something to me that is something to be aware of. But and not but alongside of that, you have the Rams, and then you have the Hawks with that portion going into the playoffs who weren't there last year. Could the Seahawks be one of those teams? That's what I'm trying to get at. Could the Seahawks be one of those wild card teams that wasn't there and the Rams drop out? I don't know. I don't know about that. Do two teams from the NFC South actually make the playoffs this year? Do three teams from the NFC North make the playoffs this year? These are some of the question marks that roll through my head. So I have them around like the 8-9, 9-8 area. I am leaning in the direction of the Rams being more 9-8, maybe even 10-7. The Hawks could be that as well. I just am very unsure. I'm just being outright and forthright with everyone. I'm not sure about these West teams. No matter how much I've spent looking at them, I'm hearing so little about them and not getting as much information and opportunity to see them. I'm just not 100% sure. But I know the Niners, and the Niners, looking at their schedule ahead, man, it's hard to bet against them. I've got the Niners finishing at 14-3. I think they're going to have the best record in the NFL. I think they'll finish as the number one in the NFC, followed by the Lions, and then behind them would be the Eagles and then the Falcons. Those as the 4 division winners. And then who are the potential wild card teams? The potential wild card teams, I'm looking at Packers at the 5th, hands down. Excuse me. Packers at the 5th, hands down. And then potentials are like the Bucks, the Bears, the Cowboys, the Rams, and then the Commanders, the Saints. Those are 2 teams. The Saints were another team. I had to pick one. I made myself just pick one. The Saints to me are another wild, kind of like Cinderella-esque kind of team of opportunity in the NFC. Not sure. But I've got the Lions, the Falcons, the Eagles, and the Niners as the division winners. What do you guys think about my NFC takes? Let me know in the comments. One final little key of facing the unknown, and that is this: don't let others' expectations or your own expectations be what dictate in the moments around you. In these moments of uncertainty, when everything is in flux, I want to encourage you that God has a plan and a purpose for your life, that you matter to Him. I love to tell people the truth of the identity that God gives us, that we find the fullness of in faith in Him, and that is that you are a unique, unrepeatable, beautiful, and intelligent miracle of God. You are made in His image. You are made with a purpose and a plan. You matter. You are loved. Your identity is not based upon what you have succeeded with or failed with, what others say about you, or what you even say about yourself. Your identity is based upon what God has said about you, the one who has made you, whose you are, not who you are. With predictions in the book, I want to know what you guys think. How's your team going to finish out? Who's going to be the division winners? Who's going to make it into the playoffs? Maybe they didn't make it last year. Who's your Cinderella squad? Like I've shared mine are. And listen, whether it's the fact that the Vikings are depleted, the AFC North has only gotten stronger, the New England Patriots are losing their minds, the Cardinals are silent, whatever. We don't know what's going to happen, and that's the exciting thing about this. Whether you think it's going to be the Ravens, Chiefs, Texans, and Bills or Jets winning their division, or you think it's going to be the Lions, the Falcons, the Rams, the Eagles, the 49ers, whoever is going to win the division. And I encourage you to take time to think in your own life about facing the unknown. What does that mean? And I remind you to embrace the uncertainty, to focus on only what you can control, to trust the process, and find strength in community, to hold on to hope, to reflect on past victories, celebrate the little wins, to lean on faith as a guiding light, and also not to allow the expectations of others and self to be what ruin you. Face the unknown with strength, face the unknown with hope, face the unknown with a surety of being seen through it. This season, this moment of life, a future moment of life. And know that when we lean especially into and trust in the Lord, He will lead us. He will direct us. And so here with Cleats Off the Couch, our goal is about taking conversations from the couch into life. If today's episode got you thinking, whether about football or your own story, I encourage you, share this episode with someone who could use a little encouragement themselves. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on deeper dives into football and life. And I also want to hear from you, whether it's your predictions for the season, who your sleepers are, who's your sleeper team, who's your sleeper fantasy player. Drop a comment, shoot me a message, hit me up on social media, and let's keep this conversation going and take it off the couch into real life. Thanks for being a part of Cleats Off the Couch. And remember, get your cleats off the couch.